So I'd just like to remind people that we are in a graveyard, and please be respectful and not step on the graves. I know it's difficult because there's a lot of them, but if I could just ask you to be really aware of where you're stepping and stay off the graves. So next up, we have a very hard-working MLA from the North Island, Claire Chavena.
Claire!
Sisters and brothers, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. We're here for two real reasons. One is to remember those miners who died, doing what we have all asked them to do, which is extract the resources so that we could live comfortable lives, whether it be coal or minerals, whatever. And I think that this year we have to remember with an added poignancy, because 300 miners died in Turkey a few months ago. They died in a mine that was private, where there were no standards for work-safe practices, and where the government didn't care. These are the things that unions have fought for generations to make sure they don't happen. In Britain, the labour movement started from the trade union movement. It started from the movement of the miners fighting for their rights. Jínjер Goodwin fought for the rights of workers as well as safety in the mines. This is our chance to remember those people and take their fight on. Because the best way we can remember people who have died fighting for rights, whether it is workers' rights, rights of justice, or workplace safety, is to make sure that that fight doesn't die until everyone has the right to have a safe workplace, a living wage, and the ability to organize if they choose. And sisters and brothers, there is strength here today because you are members of organized labor and because you support organized labor, and that scares governments. It has scared right-wing governments for time immemorial, which is why they try to bust the unions, which is why we have to keep on fighting, which is why we have important events like today and like every day in workplaces to talk about how important it is to belong to a union, the benefits of being part of a union, and the fact that a union will make a better province, a better country, and in the end, a better world. Sisters and brothers, today is a day to remember, it's a day to celebrate, it's a time to regather energies so we can go on into the next year and the next year and the next year, continuing our fight. Thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Next up, we have Maria Dunn.
Thank you very much for inviting me to sing today. About a month ago, I visited the Miners' Memorial in Spring Hill, Nova Scotia, and took quite a while to read all the names, the several hundred miners that have died in the mines there. And then yesterday, we were taking a tour of the Cumberland Museum, and again on the wall, a list of hundreds of miners who died in the mines. And next Saturday, my colleague Don Bozak and I are heading down to Hillcrest in the Crow's Nest Pass on the Alberta side to commemorate the 100th anniversary of the Hillcrest mine disaster, where 189 men lost their lives. This song, I wrote this song after taking a tour of the Bellevue mine in the Crow's Nest Pass. And if you catch on to the refrain, please sing it with me. It goes like this. Can you blame the poor miner? Can you blame the poor miner? From heaven to hell he passes each day. Can you blame the poor miner for spilling some pale on rum runner's booty to steal his resolve? Can you blame the poor miner? Can you blame the poor miner? Those temperance ladies are raising the roof till you can't lay your hands on anything proof. Well, they've never spent the day not seeing the light. Can you blame the poor miner? Can you blame the poor miner for seeking respite? With pick and a lantern he harvests the coal, then climbs back out of that cavernous hole to a constant reminder mountains will move. Can you blame the poor miner? Can you blame the poor miner? 30 men lost when Bellevue did cave, until Crest's cold blanket of graves. Somehow he's hewn it all from his mind. Can you blame the poor miner? Can you blame the poor miner? His need to unwind. He's old country raised, a wife and children to feed on his wage. If he stands with the union to better his lot, can you blame the poor miner? Can you blame the poor miner? From hell to heaven he passes each day. There's a light at the end of the tunnel, they say. Meantime, there's comfort in draining her glass. Can you blame the poor miner? Can you blame the poor miner? Can you blame the poor miner? It might be his last.
Thank you, Maria. I know it was a real treat for those people that were able to make it out Thursday. I unfortunately wasn't able to make it, but I heard fabulous things from people, so thank you so much. Last, but certainly not least on our speakers list is Jim Sinclair, President of the BC Federation of Labour.
39 years ago, a young man woke up in the Cobalt Hotel in Vancouver. And he hitchhiked to the ferry and he got on the ferry. And for the first time he came to Vancouver Island and he hitchhiked to Cumberland. When he got to Cumberland, he went to the local restaurant and said, "Where's the cemetery?" And when he found the cemetery, he walked out to here and he looked for Ginger Goodwin's grave. And it took him a half an hour to find it because when he finally did, it was overgrown with weeds and you couldn't see it. And that young man sat down beside the grave and thought about who Ginger Goodwin was and why he was so important to a 21-year-old kid. That was me. And today I'm here again, after many, many times, including being here for the first time, because like you, I know that the history that's seeped in this ground and in the spirits of people like Ginger Goodwin and Joe Naylor are the reasons we stick together and fight. And the legacy of these folks is the fight. I was thinking about the whole debate we have about temporary foreign workers and realizing that every one of those miners that fought these battles were all from another country. They came here as immigrants to have a better life and found out that there wasn't a better life unless you fought for it. But they made a mistake back then because they thought that the Chinese workers were the problem. And of course it wasn't the Chinese workers that were the problem, it was the employers. And today we have to be very clear in the middle of a debate about exploited labor being brought in from other countries, that it is not the workers who are coming from anywhere on this planet to come here that's the problem. It's the employers and the government that want to exploit them. And let me say that during that debate back then, Joe Naylor, who was the president of the BC Federation of Labour, argued against the position of the labour movement. And at the end of the day, today, as this debate heats up, we have to be very clear as a labour movement. Very, very clear not to make the mistakes of the past. Every single one of those temporary foreign workers who's in this country today should have the right to immigrate, bring their families, raise their families, the same rights as everybody else. We're not talking about getting rid of them, we're talking about making them citizens. You know, one of the things that Jínjер Goodwin taught me and taught a lot of us, that the labour movement wasn't just formed to get better pay and safe working conditions. The values of the labour movement were the values they wanted to see the whole society live with. They wanted a society of solidarity, a society where we took care of each other, a society where if you were sick, then you got the health care you needed no matter how much money you had in your pocket or how little money you had in your pocket. They didn't just want to change the work site, they wanted to change the world. And they had a vision that said it doesn't have to be that the people at the top have all the power. There could be a different way of running society, and we have spent since that day and continue to do that to fight for a society based on justice, on solidarity, and human decency. And that's our battle today, and it was 100 years ago. We have a big responsibility in the labour movement. It's a huge one, because we do stand in the way of what capitalism wants to do to this planet. We do have to stand up for a different kind of society. We do have resources that other people don't have. And we have to find ways to make a labour movement that's far greater than the sum of its individual parts, far greater than just the union members who have a union card in their pocket. We have to continue to strive to build a labour movement that represents every single working people, no matter a union card or not in their pocket. That's the vision of the working class we need to have and of a labour movement. You know, there is no magic. Conditions have changed. We still have right-wing governments. We know that if Jínjer Goodwin was here today, he would disagree with the government in Ottawa. He wouldn't go to war for them. He also wouldn't support them or vote for them, I'm sure. And I hope that we take to heart that spirit of opposition, and that in the next year, we make sure that this government is gone and Stephen Harper is defeated, and we put a government in there that would represent working people. Because Jínjer Goodwin was very political. The first election of Labour delegates came from this valley and from up in the interior. And they elected 3 Labour MLAs under the Western Federation Labour Party, which was created by the BC Federation of Labour. So when people say to me, oh, Jim, don't get political, don't be involved in democracy, I say, you're crazy. Democracy is our tool, and if we don't use it, they use it against us. So we have to do it. But the other lesson he taught us, and others have taught us, and we teach each other, is that nothing comes without a fight. Not a single thing. How many of you were sitting in the lunchroom when the boss came in and said, excuse me, can I interrupt for a second? I noticed that you had some children, you might need a dental plan. Oh, excuse me, I noticed you're getting older, you might want a pension plan. Let us be very clear that the fight that was then and the fight now is we continue to fight for everything that we get. And as Homer Stevens says, Grace would remember this, as Homer Stevens said, You fight for every goddamn thing you won, but you got to keep fighting to keep it. And that's the lesson as well. We have to keep fighting if we want to keep all those things that we won. Because, sisters and brothers, the attack on the labor movement is a profound attack from the right wing across North America, and we're going to have to stand up to that, and I know we're ready for that. I know that because I can see all the people here today. I can see all the work that we've done collectively. And I want to thank all of you, every single one of you, because all of you have given a lot of your life to make a better place. And I know today we're proud to be part of that labor movement and proud to be part of these communities. So sisters and brothers, let's keep up this fight, let's celebrate, and let me thank profoundly all the people that made this happen, all the organizers, the Labor Council, everybody else, because we all know if you don't have organizers, you don't got nothing. So thank you so much for the job you've done. I'm so honored to be here, and I'll keep coming. Thanks very much.